Catherine the Great. Perhaps more than any other woman in history, she truly left a legacy. And I don't just mean in the most disgusting parts of OnlyFans, no, but also in the world. She ruled Russia for 34 years, but just like Stalin, she wasn't even Russian. She came from the Holy Roman Empire, which was basically like Germany at the time, before Napoleon and the 20th century beat the shit out of it. When she was only 16 years old, she married the heir to the Russian throne, and he would become Tsar Peter III. Briefly. To the outside world, they look like the perfect couple, mostly because when you average the two together, you net out to about one chin apiece. But like all good royal couples, they actually hated each other, and we all know that one secretly murdered the other one, even though they won't admit it. Even from a young age, Catherine, whose original name was Sophie, she was known to be thirsty as fuck and was banging anybody she pleased. But her husband didn't really care, because he was doing the same shit too. And he was probably thinking, my wife's a whore, no big deal. But actually, shit was about to get a lot worse, because one of them booty calls was a guy by the name of Prince Orloff, and he and Kathy were ambitious as fuck. After just 6 months of that dude being czar, Catherine got tired of looking at his chinless face sitting on that throne, and she had Prince Orloff throw his ass in the dungeon. And 8 days later, he died of natural causes at the age of 34. Now, Catherine insisted she ain't had nothing to do with that dude dying, but come on, if some chick moved into a guy's house today, and then 6 months later, she and her lover locked him in his own basement and stole all of his shit, you gonna believe her when she says she had nothing to do with him dying? Yeah, me neither. But that didn't matter now. It never matters how you become the king, because once you king, it just don't matter. And the same is true of bitches. And so Catherine would basically rule Russia as a military dictator for the next 34 years. And she was so good at it that nobody even cared she wasn't really supposed to be there. During her reign, she was known as an enlightened monarch, and she tried to modernize Russia, which clearly worked. And in addition to making a bunch of reforms, she also wanted to get Russia into the empire game, because that's how you make them rubles. You see, she was getting jealous watching all the other Europeans getting rich off their vast tropical empires, teeming with friendly natives and eager, hard-working immigrants, and she thought, we could do that. Plus, she wanted to diversify the Russian Empire away from being a frozen, barren, uninhabitable wasteland. So naturally, she annexed Alaska, which is a Native American word that very conveniently means Alaska. Now, even though it was far away from her splendid St. Petersburg and bordered the dangerous and exotic Canada, that shit actually proved quite profitable because she sent a bunch of hunters over there and they killed everything to get their fur. Made those tall hats them Russians still love. Back closer to home, she was very forward thinking. She invaded Ukraine, annexed Crimea. Bitch was basically like Putin, only good at it. Even called that shit New Russia. Blatant. She was not fucking around with that. You know, like she would be later with the horse. But you see, unlike Putin, she built new cities like Odessa and Kherson, rather than bombing schools and hospitals to the ground. So the people there kinda actually liked her, at least relatively. So after all that shit was over, like everybody, she died. And that's when the horse fucking comes in. You see, her enemies claimed that she was killed because she was so horny that she had a horse rigged up on a pulley system so that it could fuck her real good. I won't go into details, but you can check out my OnlyFans if you really want to see it. Anyway, the pulleys broke, the horse fell, and boom, dead empress. At least that's what they claimed. Now, is any of that shit true? No, probably not. But who knows? Frankly, there's only so many double chins you can have, at which point dudes just stop being an option. I'm sorry, fat activists, but it's true. Anyway, that's that bitch's story. She was actually quite impressive, and even with all the horse fucking, she was still one of Russia's greatest leaders ever. Not that the bar is all that high on that. She even tried to abolish slavery like 100 years before it actually happened. So you can kind of think of hers and Putin's philosophy kind of meeting somewhere in the middle, specifically 1890. Like, subscribe, pay me. Oh, and watch my other shit.